This is the Portal iceberg chart. If you don't know what an iceberg chart is, basically the deeper you go on the chart, the more twisted, deep, and insane the entries get. So basically, in simple words, the top of the iceberg has very simple, well-known facts about the subject, while the deeper you go, the more obscure, twisted, and crazy the entries get. The Portal games are some of my favorite games of all time, so let's just jump right into this. The cake is a lie. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of this old internet meme, but a lot of people don't realize that it actually originates from Portal. It was initially left behind as graffiti by Doug Ratman, which we'll get to him later, to warn the player that GLaDOS has been deceiving the player. It was intended by the developers to be a minor reference as an inside joke to the game's development team that implied the player would never actually get their promised reward, and that it was all a trick or a lie. Some of the things that GLaDOS say imply that at the end of the test you will be rewarded with cake.
Cake and grief counseling will be available at the conclusion of the test.
So the original context of the cake is a lie was to convey the message that the reward is being used to motivate Shell without any intent of delivering it. But now it has been removed from its original context. For example, the phrase has been used as an idiom to refer to the pursuit of an empty, unattainable goal. So this infamous phrase from the game has had a huge impact on internet culture, and has reached a sort of meme status. Half-Life connection. Aside from Portal using assets from Half-Life, they both actually take place in the same universe, such as GLaDOS mentioning Black Mesa in the Still Alive song, as well as the Borealis being shown in Half-Life 2, which we'll get to later. In Portal 2, you can hear the selection of frequently incoherent rants of Cave Johnson, the founder and former CEO of Aperture Science. From Johnson's recording messages, we can learn that he blames the company Black Mesa for the ultimate failure of Aperture Science. Specifically, Johnson cites the theft of ideas in this voice clip.
And you've most likely used one of the many products we invented, but that other people have somehow managed to steal from us. Black Mesa can eat my bankrupt...
This confirms that Aperture Science and Black Mesa are competitors in the same world. Given that we see teleportation technology and gravity manipulation in both Portal's Aperture Science testing facility and Half-Life's Black Mesa research facility, it's safe to say the companies shared some concepts, even if it isn't clear as Cave Johnson would make it seem. Ratman dens. Okay, in order to talk about the Ratman dens, we first have to talk about Doug Ratman himself. Doug Ratman first appeared in the Portal 2 Lab Rats comic book. Doug Ratman, also nicknamed as simply Ratman, was a scientist at the Aperture Science Enrichment Center. Prior to the events of Portal, while GLaDOS began flooding the entire facility with neurotoxin, Ratman is the only known employee who has survived. So the Ratman dens are little rooms left behind by Ratman when he was hiding in the Enrichment Center. All of these rooms are covered in cryptic messages all over the wall. We talked about this before when we were talking about the cake is the lie. As previously mentioned, this is a message left behind by Doug Ratman to warn Shell. His paranoid schizophrenia explains the things on the walls. In the graphic novel, we also learn that he is dependent on antipsychotic medication as a means of keeping him sane. After avoiding being killed, he breaks into the test subject's filling room and arranges Shell's name at the top of the subject roster, leading to the events of Portal. You could talk about this dude for a very long time. You can make a whole video just on his lore alone, so that's just the gist of it. Portal still alive. So at first I thought this was referencing the banger song that plays at the end of Portal, but what this entry is actually referencing is Portal Still Alive, the port of the original Portal game on Xbox 360. It was exclusively released on Xbox Live Arcade on October 22, 2008. From what I understand, there is no difference between this and the original. The Borealis. The Borealis is an Aperture Science research iceberg of almost legendary stature, introduced in Half-Life 2 Episode 2, and then seen in Portal 2. It is implied that it contains an immensely powerful and dangerous secret that isn't yet known. The Borealis began its life as a project worked on by Aperture Science in a competing bid against Black Mesa over a Defense Logistics Agency contract for the effective FSII solution, or in other words, Fuel System Icing Inhibitor. Although events surrounding the ship are highly classified, it is known that it disappeared in its entirety during the testing and development. The ship straight up just disappeared into thin air. Oracle turret foreshadowing. In Portal 2, during the turret redemption line, after being saved, the Oracle turret will say several cryptic messages that will be references to parts of the game. If the player ignores it, the Oracle turret will complete its journey along the redemption line and disappear, and will presumably be incinerated and destroyed. The player later has the option of sending the turret through the material emancipation grill. Some of the things the turret says actually do happen later on in the game, like in this example.
Prometheus was punished by the gods for giving the gift of knowledge to man. He was cast into the bowels of the earth and pecked by birds.
Here's all the lines that the turret says and everything he's foreshadowing if you want to pause and read it. Shoutouts to theportalwiki.com for compiling all of this information. Companion cubes contain corpses. Yeah, this is real. Now, there are many pieces of evidence that point toward the fact that the companion cubes themselves are sentient and made out of corpses. The main one being this one.
I think that one was about to say, I love you. They are sentient, of course. We just have a lot of them.
This is especially disturbing when you realize GLaDOS made you incinerate one right in front of you. In Portal 2 Lab Rats, we can also see one of the companion cubes speak to Ratman, but this is unknown if this is real or part of Ratman's schizophrenia. The real kicker is one of the drawings made by Ratman, implying that all the Aperture employees that did not escape the neurotoxin were made into companion cubes. Lab Rat Comic. We've already talked a lot about the Lab Rat comic and other entries. HalfLifeFandom.com describes it as, Portal 2 is a comic made to bridge the gap between Portal and Portal 2. Expanding the history of Aperture Science, its main protagonist is Doug Ratman, also known as The Ratman or just Ratman. This is his first formal appearance after indirectly appearing in Portal and the Portal ARG. So yeah, that's about all we can talk about. Everyone go read it. It's free, it's online, and it's an amazing read. Wheelie in TF2. The APSAP is a promotional building weapon for the Spy in TF2. He's based on Wheatley from the video game Portal 2, a flattened core with a glowing blue eye, with voice lines which are activated upon certain circumstances, such as when deployed and destroyed, and eyelids that move as he talks and widens when in range of a sappable building. This weapon functions identical to the Sapper. This item is awarded in genuine quality to players who open a What's in the Portal 2 soundtrack box, which was included via a promo code with the Portal 2 Songs to Test by CD. Portal and LEGO Dimensions. Portal 2 is one of the many franchises featured in LEGO Dimensions. The level pack includes Shell, a sentry turret, and the companion cube. It contains 2 adventure worlds, the first one being Aperture Science Enrichment Center, which contains test chamber level 1, 2, 3, and then Bring Your Daughter to Work Day, and then Wheat Fields. The levels in this level pack are the Aperture Science Enrichment Center and then just Aperture Science. Fun fact, this is one of the few franchises to have all their characters' respective voice actors reprise their roles in the LEGO Dimensions pack. This is also the only video game related LEGO pack to do this. Shell's Potato Experiment. So in Portal 2 there's a small location in the Enrichment Center called the Employee Daycare Center. It is between the turret malfunctioning and the neurotoxin generator. In this location, you will come across the remains of the first annual Bring Your Daughter to Work Day science fair, during which several experiments were showcased by the employees' daughters, including Shell. Mostly on potato batteries before GLaDOS flooded the facility with neurotoxin after being activated. Shell's potato experiment has become massively overgrown and reaches into the ceiling, leading Wheatley to suggest that the potatoes have probably overrun the facility by that point. Portal 2 PETI. Portal 2 PETI, or the Perpetual Testing Initiative, is a level editing and sharing service for Portal 2 released by Valve on May 8, 2012. It is free for all users who purchase Portal 2 and is included directly in the game. Users can create levels, play them, and also share them online for others to play. The level editor features a simple interface and the ability to test and play the levels. So here's the lore of the game. The Perpetual Testing Initiative is a project administered by Cave Johnson in the late 1960s as Aperture Science becomes bankrupt. Johnson promotes that the multiverse theory exists and that there are infinite universes with infinite Aperture Science facilities. The layout of the project is to trick more financially stable versions of Aperture by planting blueprints of test chambers on the desks of unaware associates of alternate universes and stealing the chambers when they are constructed. Johnson admits that the project was indeed a con plan, and that they are robbing the more stable versions of themselves to produce more test chambers. He succeeds in the project, which makes Aperture the first science facility to explore the multiverse, and also confirming that there is a multiverse in the Portal universe. Aperture Tag. Aperture Tag, the Paint Gun Testing Initiative, is a 2014 puzzle platform game developed by the Aperture Tag team. Originally made as a mod of Valve's Portal series, it was released on July 15, 2014. The game removes the iconic Portal gun of the series and instead utilizes a newly created paint gun that fires 2 kinds of gel with different properties. The game features new characters and voice acting, along with co-op mode that includes a level editor. This game is really amazing and fun. This is one of the best mods I've ever seen in my life, and it's only $4.99 on Steam. Everyone go buy it. Portal Stories, Mel. Portal Stories, Mel is a 2015 single-player mod for Portal 2, developed by Prism Studios. Like the official Portal games, it is a puzzle platform game that involves placing in-connected portals to solve puzzles. Set in the Portal universe, players control the test subject Mel, who has to escape the underground facility after she spends decades in artificial hibernation. The mod was released on June 25, 2015 for Windows, Mac OS, and Linux systems, available freely to users who own Portal 2 on Steam. Reviews largely praised the mod, visual design, and ambition, though they criticized the difficulty. Later updates added a story mode that made the puzzles easier. Portal: No Escape. Portal: No Escape is a short film based on the Portal video game series directed by Dan Trachtenberg, and the film was released on August 23, 2011. As of recording this, the video has over 27 million views. It even has its own IMDb page, where it has 7.1 stars out of 10. Everyone go watch this movie, it's super cool and really well done. Portal: The Flash version. Portal: The Flash version is a two-dimensional game made with Adobe Flash based on Valve's Portal. It features the same environmental and testing elements as Portal does, while even introducing some new features of its own. This game has also been recreated in the Portal Software Development Kit, Source SDK, and released as a map pack. Some of the levels are included in the Xbox Live Arcade version of Portal, Portal Still Live. Some of the levels and mechanisms used in the mod have also been borrowed over into a few other map packs or mods. This can most commonly be found in Portal Prelude mod, which uses the electricity field and a few of the fields used in the Flash version. Despite the Flash plugin being depreciated and disabled across browsers at December 2020, this game is still playable. I actually used to play this game all the time in TV production class on Flash Archives, and it's actually a lot of fun. So everyone go download Flash Archives for free if you want to play it. VR Portal games. So there are two VR Portal games that I know of, Portal Stories VR and Aperture Hand Lab. Portal Stories VR builds off the foundation of the award-winning Portal 2 modification, Portal Stories Mel. Portal Stories VR has a brand new mini-story set in the Portal universe. It features 10 brand new puzzles, specifically designed to work with the 360-degree and room scale that Steam VR uses. It was both developed and published by Prism Games Studios. Aperture Hand Lab described itself as, "Experience the high-fidelity virtual reality of your own hands like never before." Pretty vague. It wasn't developed by Valve, but it was published by them. It was developed by Cloudhead Games. It was released June 25th, 2019. This one I actually haven't played yet, but I will get around to it. Harry101UK. Harry Callaghan, or known by his social media name Harry101UK, is a British animator, voice actor, and music composer known for his voice acting on Portal Stories and composing his own animations on his YouTube channel. He's actually made over 80 videos on Portal in his YouTube career, and his Portal videos are actually pretty well known on the Portal side of YouTube. Narbacular Drop. Narbacular Drop is a puzzle video game developed by Nuclear Monkey Software and is the spiritual predecessor to Portal. Here's a plot synopsis of the game. A princess, called No Knees due to her inability to jump, was admired by her entire kingdom. A demon, imagining that her kidnapping would help in his quest to conquer the world, captures No Knees. He then locks her inside a cage in the mountain lair under patrol of his MP minion. However, Wally, the spirit of the mountain, was mad at the demon for creating his dungeon lair inside of his home. He tells No Knees he could assist her in escaping as long as she helped him to defeat the demon. To escape, Princess No Knees is allowed to use Wally's magical power. She can look at any two flat surfaces and break reality, making an instant link between them using two portals. She must then use this to travel through 5 different chambers all the way to the final boss. Jeep Barnett, a developer of the game and current employee at Valve, stated on the now defunct forums of Narbacular Drop that the final chapter of the game, Fire with Fire, quote, was a hint as to how to beat the final boss who would throw the fireballs at you that you need to reflect through a portal. The concept behind redirecting an enemy's attack would return in the climactic battle of Portal between Shell and GLaDOS. Just looking at the game, you can see the very many simulators between this and what ended up being Portal. Hoopy the Hoop. In Portal, Hoopy the Hoop was a hoop fallen from the sky among the wreckage of GLaDOS at the end of the game. Hoopy landed on the Aperture Science parking lot in front of Shell just before being dragged off by the party escort bot. As joked about in an interview with Valve, in opening the portal exploring the game's development, said that they never expected The Cake is a Lie to become such a huge hit. The developers said that they expected, if anything, that the Hoopy the Hoop would become the meme derived from Portal. Eric Wolpaw jokes, "We thought that we should have a warehouse full of Hoopy t-shirts and mugs and posters. We would watch that hoop roll by over and over again. That was the part of the game we were most proud of, and nobody cared." In Portal 2, it became a canon joke by reappearing in some chambers. Portal 2 scrap story. Now, Portal 2 has a ton of cut content, but as far as cut story, this is what I could find. In an interview with Did You Know Gaming, Josh Weir provided more context about why the Aperture employee Doug Ratman, nicknamed the Ratman, did not make an appearance in Portal 2. While the Ratman was referenced in Portal, the developers did not want to include the actual character in the sequel. However, Weir noted that it would have been a graphical challenge. He said it could instantly date your game. Furthermore, the director noted that the AI was another reason why the idea was scrapped, noting that it could prove difficult for the characters to interact with portals, among other things. Beyond this cut content, the interview with Weir gave more insight into some details that did not make it to the game. For example, an infographic about the turret scene in Portal 2 was detailed. Specifically, the director noted how an artist working on the game decided to give one of the turrets that had a leopard skin a crown. It turned out to be a hit with the staff, and working on the game was dubbed the Animal King turret. Android Hell. Not only is Android Hell the name of the track that you're hearing right now from the Portal OST, but also has some deep lore behind it. It appears that the Aperture Science had once manufactured or tested the military android. They are mentioned only twice, once in Test Chamber 16 of Portal, and in Test Chamber 03 of Portal 2. These androids were originally meant for the studying the effectiveness of the sentry turrets and other defense mechanisms developed by Aperture Science, as their names would suggest. Military androids are not seen through the games, and are only mentioned. During her series of tests, Shell is told by GLaDOS that the appropriate Test Chamber 16 is currently unavailable due to the mandatory scheduled maintenance, and that it has been replaced with a live fire course designed for military androids. While the chamber is highly dangerous and improper for human test subjects, GLaDOS merely apologizes for the inconvenience and wishes Shell the best of luck. In the chamber, Shell is first confronted by the Aperture Science sentry turrets and must defeat them with weighted storage cubes sent through portals she creates with her portal gun. After the test is over, GLaDOS' message seems to be automatic, as she addresses Shell as if she was the android herself while she was congratulating her for succeeding. GLaDOS also reminds that the Enrichment Center's Android Hell, where androids are sent at the first sign of defense, is a real place, as we see in this voice line.
Well done, Android. The Enrichment Center once again reminds you that Android Hell is a real place where you will be sent at the first sign of defiance.
Assuming it was not a lie, as GLaDOS is prone to do, this may be an area where androids are punished, tortured, partially or fully destroyed, or merely a frightening term for the emergency intelligence incinerator. As GLaDOS' message is rather menacing, androids most likely do feel pain or fear from the message and the so-called Android Hell to have a purpose. In Portal 2, Android Hell may be related to the chamber GLaDOS built where all the robots scream at you mentioned. This is supported by the fact that GLaDOS mentioned sending Wheatley there as a punishment. F-stop. This mechanic was originally intended to be the primary handheld testing element for the prequel to Portal. The developers very much praised the concept, but after the prequel itself received negative feedback from playtesters as they were expecting a sequel with the portal gun, the F-Stop project was cancelled, and it was decided to keep the mechanic disclosed to reserve for another potential game. In 2020, it was revealed to be a camera which could store photographic objects and place them, possibly rescaled. There's a lot of mods for Portal 2 that bring this concept to life, and the concept itself is very interesting. It's kind of like the game Superliminal, if you know what that is. Hidden cake recipe. In the first Portal, GLaDOS displays the cake recipe on many computer screens in the office areas, but it is heavily corrupted. The recipe includes the standard ingredients to a German chocolate cake, not a Black Forest cake, along with incredible garnishes such as drilling equipment and parts to a tool used to embalm body. In the final battle, GLaDOS drops the intelligent core, which lists an abridged version of these ingredients. Some of these are pretty standard, such as packaged chocolate chip mix, vegetable oil, eggs, sweet chocolate chips, you know, the standard stuff. There's also ones like cordless electric needle injector, cranial caps, unsaturated polyester resin, alpha resins, pull and peel licorice, and fish-shaped dirt. Like, what in the hell even is that? Valve's turret replica. On September 19th, 2012, Valve released a YouTube video entitled There You Are that showcased a fully functional turret from Portal 2. It was designed and made by Weta Workshop. Not only is it life-size and fully functional, but it's also complete with a motor sensor and body tracking. This thing is absolutely sick, and let's admit it, we all want one in our house. ApertureScience.com. Shouts to DR Barry for the footage before the website was shut down because of Flash. ApertureScience.com is a viral tie-in website launched in 2006 to promote Portal, although it can still be seen by web viewers. ApertureScience.com likely exists within the Half-Life universe as Aperture Science's official website and would, therefore, be considered canonical. Some parts, however, such as the Holiday Vault, currently featured on the homepage are not canonical. On March 1st, 2010, an update made to Portal launched a new viral campaign involving more complex riddles. On January 12, 2021, the website became broken due to the blocking of the Adobe Flash Player since it's discontinued on December 31st, 2020. Now this website has a lot going on with it, So if you want a video focusing on the entire website and everything it has to offer, I definitely suggest Skyrion's video called Portal's Lost Website. It's super dope and goes into literally every single detail going on with this website. So on March 1st, 2010, the website updated with this AXI terminal, and with this terminal you can access a load of different results. First off, to log into the terminal, all you had to do was type in login, logon, or user, and then type in a username. And then after that you had to type in for the password portal or portals, which was pretty easy to crack because obviously that's the name of the series. Typing help will display a help text message that does not give out a possible command to use, but rather humorously presumes that the user actually needs help with an accident in the enrichment center, and as such mobilize a crisis team to respond to the emergency and assist whoever has typed help. Typing "the cake is a lie" displays a message left by what is most likely either a test subject or a former employee who seems to have hacked the system, possibly Doug Ratman, with a view of a test chamber 00's relaxation vault through a security camera, browsing from right to left. In the message, the hacker expresses their concern about their freedom among other things. Typing "apply" begins the registration process before starting the real test. This is only part 1 of the Enrichment Center test subject application process. It is entitled Forms-EN/2873/Form, or Personality and General Knowledge. It includes 50 questions. After apply.exe has been accessed, the website changes to the application process for a prospective Enrichment Center test subject. Continue or quit can be chosen. Continue proceeds to the next step, obviously. Many questions are asked for the user to answer, most being humorous in nature. Many questions related to Portal are asked, as well as many cake-related ones. During the test, the picture of a cake flashes at random intervals. Furthermore, some letters slowly blink from time to time to make the sentence, "the cake is a lie." Some of these questions are really strange. This is the third question. Sally, Dwayne, Anthony, David, and Franklin are collectively exactly 10 years apart in age. Sally is 2 years older than David. David's favorite letter is G. Anthony's favorite letter is also G, but Dwayne has no preference, insisting that he likes all the letters equally except for S. What is Franklin's favorite letter? Some of them are also very creepy, such as question 4 that says, "Which of the following best describes your pain? Manuscript, shooting, stabbing, burning, prickly, aching, sharp, or dull?" Some of them are also just simple yes or no questions. Question number 21 is strangely extremely long. It basically asks, "What wild animal would you like to domesticate?" and then lists 2,314 different animals. The final question of this application process is, "What is your gender?" In one of the Ratman dens, we can see a message that says, "Login C. Johnson, password tier 3. When using this in the terminal, you can log into Cave Johnson's account. After logging in as Cave Johnson, GLaDOS version 1.0.7a, copyright 1982 Aperture Science Incorporated, appears. Then one can either type apply or notes, which will give information about Aperture Science and Johnson's history in the form of a short timeline. The last paragraph of the timeline was later expanded and shown on the Game Informer only, giving 1998 instead of the original several years later, as the date of both GLaDOS activation and the Black Mesa incident. While this new paragraph was written by Portal series writer Eric Wolpaw, Half-Life series writer Mark Laidlaw dismissed 1998 as the date of the Black Mesa incident, as the date 200- given when the first Half-Life was released is the only correct one. It's really cool to see the whole Portal lore and timeline just laid out in one huge timeline. If you want to pause the video right now and read the whole Aperture Science timeline from Johnson's perspective right now, then you can. Here it is. J.J. Abrams' Portal movie. Warner Brothers still has J.J. Abrams' Portal movie in its 2023 to 2024 slate. All the way back in 2013, a decade ago, J.J. Abrams went on stage with Gabe Newell in that year's DICE Game Conference to reveal in a joint keynote presentation that they are talking about making either a Portal movie or a Half-Life movie together. This pre-production period of time has been extended for a very long time. In 2016, Abrams revealed that they were still looking for pitches from scriptwriters, this time honing in on introducing a Portal movie. He also bemoaned that the projects they had received thus far were not understanding the game and what made it good. Jumping to May of 2021, Abrams revealed that the thing's finally on the rails, quote-unquote. He did not elaborate further on the specifics of the production process. This one I actually didn't know before reading this Iceberg, and if this is true, I am super excited for this. C. Johnson, Tier 3. We literally just talked about this, but in case you already forgot, C. Johnson Tier 3 is something written on the walls in one of the Ratman dens that you can use to log on to on the Aperture Science website. Also, sorry if I sound a little bit different. I got sick in between recording, so if my voice sounds a little bit different, that's why. Portal 1 ending change. Thank you, Did You Know Gaming, for this footage. Everyone go watch the videos. Originally, the game used to just fade to black after waking up in the Aperture parking lot. Around the time Portal 2 was announced, they updated the ending to help bridge the story to the start of the second game. What you hear at the end is, "Thank you for assuming the party escort submission position," after which you are dragged away. Turret Opera Song meaning. The Turret Opera is a piece of music featured at the end of Portal 2, where numerous Aperture Science sentry turrets sing the song Cara mia addio, an Italian aria, but it is not accompanied by official lyrics. It's also the current background music. Fans of Portal 2 with an understanding of Italian have both transcribed them in the original tongue and translated them into English. The song was composed by Valve composer Mike Moraski, but the librettist is unknown. Ellen McLean is the vocalist of the song, as she does the voice for GLaDOS and the turret. In an interview, McLean claimed that she, quote-unquote, made up the words out of her bad Italian on the spot. Translating the song from Italian to English will give you a better understanding of what the song says. Here are the full Italian lyrics with the English translation, just in case you want to pause and read them. Wheatley Crab. Wheatley Crab is a meme that originated from April 2021. The clip of Wheatley acting like a crab originates from this video showcasing unused animations from Portal 2. The reaction from the guy recording was so hilarious that it was actually turned into a whole song. Wheatley Crab. Greek mythological metaphors. A now deleted user posted this image to r/portal 12 years ago. Now, I'm definitely in no position to talk about Greek mythology. My girlfriend would definitely be the one to talk to. So I'm just going to talk about a few of these. If you want to read all of them, then by all means, go ahead. You probably remember that we talked about this like 22 minutes ago in the Oracle turn entry of this iceberg. In this painting of Kane Johnson, it depicts Aeschylus, who of course wrote Prometheus Unbound. Tartarus was the pit which Zeus threw the Titans into for their punishment. This is also the same pit that Shell falls into after confronting Wheatley. At first, when you hear this theory, it may come off as kind of stupid and bizarre, but the more you think about it, the more similarities you actually make between the Portal series and Greek mythology. Caroline and Cave Johnson are Shell's parents. While going through the comments under a post made by user TARDIS3134 on the r/fantheory subreddit, it's been made very obvious that a lot of the fans of the Portal series see this as less of a theory and more of a obvious subplot of Portal 2. Here's the whole theory if you want to pause the video and read it, but I'm just going to summarize. Now, I couldn't find any evidence that confirms or denies that this is canon or not, so just take this with a grain of salt. Now, that being said, I can very much see why a lot of Portal fans consider this canon, because the evidence is very compelling. 1. GLaDOS says multiple times that Shell was adopted. 2. Shell is/was the child of one of the employees at Aperture Science and came in for Bring Your Daughter to Work Day, and she made a potato for the science competition that mutated out of control. 3. It seems that Cave Johnson and Caroline were romantically involved. There's a couple of voice lines where Cave Johnson expresses his love for Caroline. 4. GLaDOS is based on Caroline, as we know, if you've beaten Portal 2. 5. Shell applied to be a test subject, but was rejected for her being too stubborn. 6. In the portrait of King Johnson and Caroline has a girl wearing an Aperture Science jumpsuit in the background. 7. It is possible that Shell grew up there since there was a daycare center there. 8. At the end, while Shell is leaving, the turret sing a song in Italian that translates to something a mother would say. 9. When Wheatley calls Shell fat and an orphan, GLaDOS defends Shell. At this point, GLaDOS knows that she is based on Caroline. How long did Shell go to sleep for? At the beginning of Portal 2, this happens.
Good morning. You have been in suspension for
9,999,999 what? Days? Hours? Weeks? Month? Years? It's not specified. If we assume that it's days, that means that she would be asleep for 27,397 years and 257 days. Another way to look at it is that Portal took place roughly around the same time as the Combine invasion of Earth, which is just after Half-Life, which is estimated to be around 2003. Shell was placed in stasis for presumably approximately 27 years and woken up presumably around 2029 or 2030, which would be when Portal 2 takes place. In the final hours of Portal 2, it is revealed that between Portal 1 and Portal 2, it is revealed to be at least 50,000 years. So there really is no concrete answer for how long Shell was asleep and the time between Portal 1 and Portal 2. I'm assuming it's a very long time considering how ruined the whole place is between Portal 1 and Portal 2. The Enrichment Center is in Ohio. The only place that I can find that says the Aperture Science Enrichment Center is based in Ohio is on the Half-Life and Portal Encyclopedia. It states, the main facility is the Aperture Science Enrichment Center, located in Upper Michigan, with at least one other base of operation in Cleveland, Ohio. Originally a shower curtain manufacturer named Aperture Fixtures, it evolved over the course of half a century into the Experimental Physics Research Institution and a bitter rival of Black Mesa. GLaDOS and Pacific Rim. In a trailer for Pacific Rim, it features the voice of GLaDOS from Portal. Del Toro confirms in an interview with Toronto Sun that GLaDOS' appearance is Valve approved. Here's the trailer right here.
Pilots, ready to connect.
Let's go fishing.
2 pilots engaged in neural bridge. Ready to activate the Jaeger in 3, 2, 1.
Hidden Peabody cameo. In the background of Chapter 8, Test Chamber 15, you can see a cameo from Peabody, who appears in the multiplayer campaign for Portal 2. Geico ad. On January 2nd, 2022, Geico released a hilarious and adorable commercial based on Portal. I honestly had no idea that this existed, and I'm so glad I do now because this is just amazing. Portal 1 and 2 Beta. Just like every other video game, Portal is very different in its early stages of development. The 2005 iteration of Portal largely took design cues from Half-Life 2, especially Nova Prospekt. Most notably, instead of being guided through the facility by GLaDOS, the player was to navigate the facility alone and eventually escape. Instead of facing GLaDOS, during the escape sequence, the player would instead have to manually escape the facility. In the final escape map, the player would have to search for car batteries to power a locked door while avoiding hazards such as turrets and fires. The escape map is the only map available for download from this era, and any other publicly available 2005 campaign era maps are remakes using assets from the map. In early 2006, the transition was made from the Nova Prospekt design to a cleaner, more sci-fi look. The doors, instead of being brush-based, took on a new Star Trek-like design. Some antiquated assets, such as the analog clock and combine elevator, initially remained, however. The flame portals, as well as a newer, sleeker portal gun, was also developed later during this era. The indicator lights were also stagnant orange lines instead of dotted lines seen later in the builds. Early screenshots of Test Chamber 13 shows off an early ASHPD inspired by the gravity gun. There's a lot more that could be said about the early days of Portal development, so if you want to learn more, I highly suggest looking into it for yourself. It's actually really interesting. Exile Verify music video contest. The song that you're listening to is a song called Exile Verify by The National that is in Portal 2. First place being CF Meister, and the runner-up being Mike Mov 89 Portal 2. On the website, thinkwithportals.com/video contest, it says this about the competition. Exile Verify doesn't have a music video, and we'd like you to correct this horrendous oversight with the Portal 2 music video contest. Make the winning video, and you'll receive an Eastwood guitar signed by the Nationals. You also win the ultimate box of swag from Valve, including shirts, posters, and other stuff we'll be grabbing off co-workers' desks when they're not looking, plus bonus shirts from Jinx. According to the website, the contest was so close that both will receive the same great prize package, the only difference being that the first place will include the guitar, and place 1.000000001 will feature an Aperture Science messenger bag signed by the Portal 2 team. Honestly, I don't know which prize is cooler, both of them sound pretty cool. Overall, this is a really cool contest that had over 320 entries. They also had other categories such as Best Use of Legos, Best Ratman Cosplay, Best Turret Story, Best Use of Green Screen, Best Caroline Story, Best That Band is a Spy, Best Puppets Non-Sock category, Best Master Copy, and Best Video Our Lawyers Won't Let Us Pick. Ratman and Portal 2 ending. Ratman is said to have died sometime after saving Shell, suggested he died from the wound infected by the turret in Lab Rat. However, Eric Wolfpaw refused to confirm or deny that this was the case in an interview. Additional scribblings are seen in Portal 2, indicating his survival. Early during the game, Shell is required to enter one of these dens to find the single portal ASHPD, in a room covered in murals detailing the events of GLaDOS' creation, up to the end of Portal, as well as a large mural of Shell herself. Purple gel. Now if you've played Portal 2, I'm sure you're familiar with the blue, orange, and white gels, but early in development there was supposed to be a purple gel called the adhesion gel. The adhesion gel can be painted onto other surfaces just like any other gel. Originally, the gel was supposed to allow the player to walk onto walls and ceilings of the test chamber. However, this effect was removed in the final game. According to the Portal 2 developer commentary and the final hours of Portal 2, playtesters were falsely disoriented when they had to think with portals while walking on walls and ceilings at the same time. Also, the gel just straight up did not work properly with portals. And because of this, Valve ultimately scrapped the idea. As you can see from watching some of this footage, the adhesion gel would have been extremely disorienting for the player. Shell speaks in Portal 2 beta. The only thing I could find about this entry is in an interview with Did You Know Gaming. According to Did You Know Gaming, there was going to be a part at the end of the game where by clicking the middle mouse button, Shell says yes to deactivate Wheatley. The team thought this would be funny and tested it out, but as Woolpal said, boy did it suck. Ratman adopted Shell. I found this post made by user lemortd3 on r/portal. Here's the most important parts. Now if we take a look at the comic in Portal 2, we see that Ratman was fairly high up, dare I say trusted. We can see he was on the team that worked on special tech like the gravity gun, which could imply that he may have been on the team that worked on the portal gun. So I'm thinking, what if Cave and Caroline gave Shell to Ratman? I saw another theory that had a similar idea. If you notice in the comic, Shell's last name is redacted. To me, this could mean one of two things. One, Shell's last name is Ratman, and Ratman himself had to delete him and Shell from the Aperture database. The problem is he needed someone who could kill GLaDOS. He couldn't self-destruct or it would kill both of them. So he had to delete himself and Shell's last name so Shell could kill GLaDOS and escape. Or two, Ratman had Shell keep her last name as Johnson, but had to delete it so GLaDOS wouldn't realize Shell is her daughter. Now I know what you're thinking, what about the end of Portal 2 when GLaDOS deletes Caroline? Easy. She realizes she is Shell's mom, but having gotten to know Shell, and the empathy coming up from Caroline's side of her, makes GLaDOS face a tough decision. Force away from her daughter so that she can have a life outside of Aperture. Honestly, I really don't know about this theory. I think it makes sense that Caroline and Johnson are her parents, but I'm not so sure about Doug Ratman being her adoptive father. To me, it makes sense that Ratman would want to help and take care of Shell just so that she could also escape, but I don't know about him being the adoptive father. It's pretty clear that Johnson has no respect for those eggheads, or literally anyone that works for Aperture Science. And the same goes for GLaDOS. So I don't know why they would give up their only child to some scientist that they've worked closely with. Portal Prelude. Portal Prelude is just a basic mod for the original Portal that adds 19 extra chambers. What's interesting is also like the original Portal, it recently got the RTX treatment. And yes, it looks just as beautiful as Portal RTX. Radio Transmission. On March 1st, 2010, the first update to Portal was made, with the description, change radio transmission frequency to comply with federal and state spectrum management regulations. It basically added a total of 26 radios to each of the chambers. In-game, the radio must each time be moved to a particular spot in each test chamber. When doing so, the music will be scrambled by interferences. Then Morse code or data transmission sound will be heard, and the red sprite will turn green.
Please let.
Finding all radios and jamming the transmissions will unlock the new achievement, Transmissions Received, although its description is just simply a question mark. Most sounds from these files contain a hidden image that can be viewed in an SSTV software. These images are somewhat similar to the images seen as GLaDOS' screen at the end of Portal. Here are all the images right here. The first Morse code message translates as Interior Transmission Active, External Data Line Active, Message Digest Active. The second one translates as a bunch of random numbers and letters, but if you put it through the MD5 message digest algorithm, it translates as the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The infamous pentagram used to test typewriters and computer keyboards. Number 12 translates as system data bump active, user backup active, password backup active. Number 17 translates as the word beep over and over, which in turn translates to LOL. The images 2, 4, 7, 13, 16, 18, 20, and 25 are all each cut into 4 images, each containing an alphanumeric highlighted or circled, and each with a number from 1 to 32 on the bottom right. Put in the order given in the bottom right numbers, these images give a bunch of random numbers and letters. This string is in the MD5 format, which I just mentioned, and if you run it through that program, a BBS number is pulled up, 425-822-5251, which is registered in an unpublished landline in Kirkland, a Seattle suburb where Valve was founded. This is what the BBS looked like. Now there's a lot more you can go into with this ARG, such as Gabe Newell's acceptance speech at the Game Choice Awards, and a bunch of art written in ARGs, which has been matched up to existing photos. So if you want more information about this specific ARG, I suggest Skyrion's video. Portal, the First Slice. Portal, the First Slice, is the demo version of Portal. It is comprised of the first 11 test chambers of the full game. The demo was initially released as part of a Steam promotion for NVIDIA hardware and ATI on May 8, 2008. If a user purchased Portal after downloading the demo, it would replace the First Slice in their game library. Over time, the demo was made available to all Steam users, irrespective of their hardware. The demo was temporarily unavailable during the Portal is Free promotion, before being made available again sometime later. It is still downloadable on Steam. Teaching with Portals. The website Foundry uses Portal 2 as an application to teach young children about physics, math, and other things. On their website it says, Portal 2 is a critically acclaimed commercial video game that has a wonderful application for creativity, design, and learning in classrooms. The game is available for download on Steam and comes with a level building tool, the Portal 2 Puzzle Maker, which provides an easy entry point for level design as well as a scientific mathematical play. They actually have full-on lesson plans from grades 4 all the way to 12 that are surprisingly complex. Man, I wish my teacher did something like this. Potato Sack ARG. The Potato Sack ARG was the second ARG initiated by Valve made to market the then upcoming Portal 2. The success of the first ARG, which included updates to the original Portal that significantly changed the story of the game, is what led Gabe Newell, president of Valve, to attempt a second ARG, which he described as a cross-game design event. As with many of the other entries on this Iceberg, you can literally make an entire video just on this one topic. So I'm going to give you a brief rundown of this whole ARG. So the Potato Sack Pack used to be 13 indie games bundled into one on Steam. Some of these games you might recognize, such as Rush, Super Meat Boy, and Amnesia: The Dark Descent. The ARG started on April 5th, 2011. 2 images can be found hidden in the informational video Aperture Investment Opportunity Number 3 Turrets, uploaded by Valve on their YouTube channel on April 5th, 2011 at the 38th second. Here are the 2 images right here. In the files for the games in the Potato Sack bundle are a bunch of PGA files of box art, renders, and concept art for Portal 2. Reflection Gel. The reflection gel replaces the adhesion gel in the Portal 2 authoring tools upon the installation of the peer review DLC. It's unused in both single-player and multiplayer campaigns. The gel, when painted on a floor, ceiling, or wall, can reflect lasers off of it, just like the discouragement redirection cube, and can be used on the same surface multiple times. The reflection gel uses a slightly darker texture than the conversion gel, but it does not have the same properties, like making a non-portal conductive surface able to conduct portals. It's pretty much the same as conversion gel, except for making portals on walls, you can just reflect lasers off of it. Portal 2 E3 Demo. On June 14th, 2010, Electronic Entertainment Expo 2010 was held, or E3 2010. Lots of games were showed off at the event, including Call of Duty Black Ops, Epic Mickey, and of course, Portal 2. Valve showed off a demo for their upcoming game, Portal 2, which had a couple differences, such as different locations. The most notable of these differences, however, is Wheatley having a completely different voice actor.
I'm never, ever to disengage myself from this rail, or I will die.
Space Corps on HTV spacecraft. An anonymous tech at NASA got away with a laser engraving of Wheatley with the quote, "in space," on the Japanese HTV-3 resupply craft on the ISS. This spacecraft launched on July 27, 2012. The third portal gun rule. Okay, so this one's pretty simple. The device can only create 2 portals at a time. If a third one is fired, the other of its type will be automatically closed and a new link will be formed. I don't know why this is so low on the list. Shell is related to Gordon Freeman. As we know, Gordon Freeman is the main character of the Half-Life series, which we already know shares many parallels to the Portal series. Both of these main characters have a few similarities, including they both mute and don't talk at all, and they both are determined on their journeys, as well as both being heroic and fearless, in a sense. Personally, I don't think they're related, I just think they have a few character traits that they share. Ratman's rambling transcribed. In Portal 2, if you go to Ratman's dens, you can actually hear him rambling. And if you transcribe what he's rambling, it sounds like some weird things. Cave Johnson Core. In the LEGO Portal 2 pack, you can see that Cave Johnson transported himself into a core. There's also a cutscene in Portal 2 where he also transformed himself into a core, but it's more of a cube.
I would say thank you, but the very fact you're here means
Since he died way before any of this technology was possible, I assume this is a poor attempt to...
Hold on! Is that you, Carolyn?
Yes, sir, Mr. Johnson.
What in the hell was that?
You were my assistant, the heart and soul of aperture science. You don't remember?
No, Mr. Johnson.
I don't.
See, the science boys invented me a machine to house my consciousness in. But that sounded dangerous, so I volunteered you to go first.
I'm assuming this is a poor attempt to preserve his consciousness. It's a shame that this dialogue was cut because it's actually really cool and important to the lore. F-stop in Superliminal. Do you remember earlier in the Iceberg chart when I said this when talking about the F-stop entry? A lot of mods for Portal 2 that bring this concept to life, and the concept itself is very interesting. It's kind of like the game Superliminal, if you know what that is. Yeah, I said that without realizing that Superliminal has its own entry on this Iceberg. But yeah, Superliminal is basically this really cool puzzle game that uses F-stop as its main mechanic. So just imagine this mechanic being used in Portal 2. I've actually been in this game, it's actually a lot of fun, so I definitely suggest it. Portal bumping. This is a glitch and speedrunning technique used by people who speedrun Portal 1. Essentially, the second portal can be placed on a surface that is on the same plane as another surface, despite objects, walls, or anything else being between them, but only up to 32 units away from the first portal. So if you place one portal on a surface and try to place one next to it, the first portal will bump the second one into a different spot that's not supposed to be in. And this can be really useful for speedrunners to skip portions of levels. Portal Reloaded. Portal Reloaded is a 2021 free modification for Portal 2, created by German developer Jonas Brickman. As in the official Portal games, gameplay involves solving puzzles by manipulating portals which allow the player to move through space. Additionally, the mod allows players to shoot a third time portal, allowing traversal across two versions of the puzzle chamber in different time periods. This is definitely one of the best mods that you can find for Portal. Hidden person in Cave Johnson painting. Going back to this image from earlier in the Iceberg, there's a theory about who is the woman in the background of the painting of Cave Johnson. The main theory is that the statue of Prometheus, the god who gave to men the fire, like GLaDOS gave the fire to the turrets, and who ends up having his liver eaten each day by a raven. Prometheus is also referenced by the broken turret once saved from the destruction line, drawing another parallel between him and GLaDOS, which we also discussed earlier in the Iceberg. I've also heard some people say that that's supposed to be Shell, but I really don't think that's the case. Repotion gel was originally a diet aid. Used as far back as 1971 by Aperture Science, the orange and supposedly sweet and largely non-toxic liquid of fiberglass insulation was originally to serve as a diet aid, serving as a diabetic pudding substitute and marketed under the name Propulsion Pudding. Its purpose was to increase the velocity of any food following it through the digestive tract, leaving the body no time to absorb calories. However, it was pulled from shelves when it was discovered digestion plays several crucial roles in the eating process, such as breaking food into manageable chunks before being violently expelled from the human body. The propulsion pudding was subsequently renamed propulsion gel, and made for use with ASHPD in test chambers instead. While another attempt at a dietetic pudding substitute, the repulsion gel, was tested, but it was also pulled from shelves for similar reasons. Alright, and that'll do it for the first half of the Portal lore Iceberg. This took way too long to make. I started this video on May 29th, 2023, and have been working on it on and off since then. I got my braces, which made me self-conscious about my voice, which delayed the video. If this video gets enough interest and support, I'll do a part 2 of the second half of the Iceberg. Shout out to Reddit user Invincible Elliot for making the Iceberg chart and letting me use it. He was really cool. If it is your first time on this channel, thank you for making it to the end of this video, and I'd love to make more video game related videos like this. So like and subscribe. Also check out my merch store if you want to support men's mental health and look drippy too. It's called Stay Strong King, and a portion of the profits go to help men's mental health. Peace out, guys.